Welcome. This is Dr. Barbara Blackburn, author of Rigor is Not a Four-Letter Word and 30 something other books. I have too many to count right now. And I am so excited to be here today to talk about rigor, but also to introduce you to two friends of mine. Sonya Murray Darden and Gwen Turner are friends of mine who have written a new book. So, Gwen, why don't you tell us the title of the new book?
The title of our new book is Serving Educational Equity, a 5-course framework for accelerated learning. And we are incredibly pleased to be here today with you, Barbara.
Oh, well, I am so excited to have both of you here. You both worked on this together, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And in terms of your jobs, you have both been principals.
Sonya has been an administrator, and I'll let her tell you.
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. I've been a teacher, principal, reading specialist, and most recently, a leadership coach, where I work alongside school leaders at the school level and at the district level to help them talk just about what many of your books have been about rigor and about how we can elevate the experiences for students. And so I'm so honored to be here today because I used your book, Rigor is Not a Four-Letter Word, with my teaching staff for years. It was my favorite go-to book. And so it's just such an honor to now be at the point where we can have this conversation about our new book.
Well, and I was really excited because y'all contacted me and I wrote the foreword for your book. And I was very honored to do that. And the more I read, the more excited I was, because when I talk about rigor being high expectations and support and scaffolding and demonstration of learning, you do all of those things in your model. So who wants to go first? Why don't we just tell me a little bit about the book?
Okay, so this is passion work. It truly is passion work. It's what we love. And we kept hearing from teachers and leaders. They would tell us that everyone told them to focus on academic acceleration, but they kept saying, tell us how. What does that mean every day in schools, in my classroom, in my school? And so we thought about how can we make what seems like such a very complex topic, how can we make it manageable, meaningful, and how can we have people to really have a memorable framework that will help them to connect some otherwise unrelated concepts.
And you actually do this, you do this pretty simply. You've got some key principles that you work with. What are those?
Yes. We were looking at a lot of Linda Darling Hammond's work when she looked at that science of learning development as our foundational piece, because she talks about the whole child. And you allude to that a lot in your work, but we know it's not just the academic that you focus in on. You focus in on the social, the emotional. You look at trust and safety when you're working with children. And we knew that this was going to be of paramount importance, especially as we were coming out of the pandemic. And this was, for me, the turning point. I was teaching a class in person, and we had a 3-hour notification that we were going to have to go online because we could no longer meet in person. Well, when the world changes that quickly, you start thinking very deeply on how do you continue to meet the needs of students, especially students who weren't always included in the best of instruction when we were meeting in person. And this was a pivotal part for us. We knew that as teachers came out of this, what I call world chaos, students still needed to learn, and we needed to help them learn. I felt the pressure of having to go online within a 2-hour time period. And when Sonya and I met, she had worked so diligently with one school, and I had been a part of helping her work with some very challenged students. I said, Sonya, we've got to do something about this. We've got to help teachers help students move ahead. And we all have preconceived ideas that students from certain zip codes or students from certain backgrounds or language abilities cannot do things. Well, it's just not true. And Barbara, you know that.
I do. It's one of the things I love about your book is it does what I say, which is rigorous for everybody. You know,
yes.
we've got to quit assuming that certain students can't.
Yes.
And that really is out there in many cases. And so y'all just do a fabulous job of really hitting that high expectations piece, but then saying it's not enough to have high expectations. You've got to have the support and structure to get there, which is exactly what I talk about. So what would you say differentiates your approach to much of what is out there?
So because I work so closely with principals, we both do, and teachers, definitely Gwen with pre-service teachers, what differentiates our book is really connecting theory to practice. So giving those educators real-time practical strategies that they can use. At the end of our book, we have time to dig in tools. And so instead of saying, okay, we want you to focus on rigor and we want you to focus on academic acceleration, we say, here's how. And I will give you some practical tools and strategies that you can use, just as you do in your books, Barbara. We're going to give you some practical strategies that you can turnkey tomorrow. We also give real-time scenarios that help people to see themselves in those experiences.
Well, one thing that your book really hits, and again, this is something I like so much, is that too often we teach from a deficit model versus an acceleration model. For somebody who doesn't know, what's the difference between those two and why should we use acceleration?
Can I start off with that and then let Sonya continue? If you'll notice, we even tried with the title of our book. We were looking at educational equity because that is a real challenge. And if you're going to talk about acceleration, you are going to have to talk about removing the biases that people have, creating a positive mindset for both teachers and students. I know for a fact that when there is rigor involved and acceleration involved, students actually have more confidence in their learning.
Let's say that I meet a teacher and they say, you know, what is this whole thing with acceleration? And I say, well, there's a difference between acceleration and deficit-based teaching. And they say to me, what's the difference and why should I do acceleration? You are the experts in that. Give us a good answer.
You know, what I talk with teachers about and you know, many times you're asking people to fold their arms a different way, right? That's what we're asking, because for years we were told that remediation was the approach to getting students caught up on missed learning. And so my response when that's said to me is that I share with them the research that shows that when we use remediation to catch students up, we actually deny them access to grade level materials and grade level experiences that will better prepare them. Instead, we keep the bar high, and then we offer scaffolding and differentiation using the data to say, okay, where is my student right now? What does my student need? And how do I give them the necessary supports to be able to meet the bar that stays the same? And this is included for all of our students, no matter their background, their zip code. All students are deserving of grade level access and grade level experiences. We can only get to that when we focus on and we address our own perceptions about their ability and our own beliefs about what they're capable of achieving. And so,
it's funny because when you're sharing that, for those of you who have either heard me speak or have read any of my books, you know what strategy I'm thinking about. Because one of the strategies I talk about to balance the high expectations and do the support and scaffolding is to use layering meaning in reading. And it's one of my favorites. And it's as simple as, because what you're talking about may sound hard, but it really isn't. In layering meaning, if I've got 6 students who can't read the text, we're reading an article that's on grade level and they can't read it, what I can do with them is have them read an easier article on the same topic, but that would be remediation. But after they've read that easier article on the same topic, I bring them back up to the grade level article. And with support, I guide them through it. And what happens is that by doing the easier article, they've built background and they've built vocabulary.
Yes.
And by doing that, they're better able to handle the grade level piece. And so accelerating versus remediation does not have to be hard.
No.
It just requires, it's like you said, fold your arms a little differently to make that adjustment. Now, Gwen, you wanted to say something else about acceleration.
Yes, one of the things that we witnessed was when you're doing this deficit thinking and you're doing the remediation that we saw, students are constantly working on past learning. They are not working on where you are currently or where they need to be in the future. I saw it over and over again where what they were doing in 5th grade was 2nd grade work. Well, if you do 2nd grade work forever and ever and ever, you're going to stay at the 2nd grade level if we want to put it at the grade levels. What we found was there were multiple approaches to helping students acquire, obtain, and engage in information. And it wasn't a one size fits all. That's why differentiation became so important. And I love what you were saying about the specifics with reading. We do choice. We even allow students to go beyond what they were doing. I've done gallery walks. I've done things that would allow students to move forward before they even thought that they could, because they would go, oh, yeah, okay, I got that done. When you do that, I think you build the confidence. And that's why we engage students a lot of times in the reciprocal learning, because they get a chance to share. And I used to think that the only way to work with students was to remediate. But I'll tell you what got me out of it. I realized that it was drill and kill. It was drill and kill. And what we need to do is give students a chance to use these powerful minds that they have to solve problems, to engage in meaningful learning activities. And we weren't doing that with the deficit thinking. I think we were doing what I used to call the old either work page or electronic work page.
Oh, yeah.
And we were leaving students at that point.
Yeah. And you know, you're right about also allowing students to move higher. I'm going to go back to the layering meaning example, just so teachers can go away with a practical example. The other thing you can do is have them read something on grade level and then have them read something higher and then have a group discussion. And there's a lot of resources out there where you can find, you know, free articles and short pieces that are just much easier to read and also much more challenging to read. And so when you talk about that difference for all students, it really is about meeting each student where they are and taking them to a new level.
Yes.
Now, Sonya, I'm going to come back to you because I want to ask something totally different.
Yes.
Right? You use something very unique in your book.
Yeah.
You do the 5-course framework.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about the 5-course framework.
Yes. And so the 5-course framework really captures the conversation we've been having so far. It first says that before you even decide to plan that meal, you have to recognize who will be at the table. So you take the pause to say, how do I plan for equity, rigor, and accelerated learning? How do I plan for it? And you take that pause to say, am I structuring my lesson and this learning experience for all students to find success? Every child, no matter their background or their ability level. And then I move to that soup course. And that soup course really talks about seeing that child for who they are and their full experience. Soup is hearty. Soup is, you know, it's great. People love soup and it's hearty. And so we connected that to our soup course, and that you have to build those meaningful relationships with students. I think it was Rita Pearson who said, if students learn from people they like. And so just in that course, we have people to go back to do some self-reflection, to address those mental models, to really think about How am I showing up? And am I making sure that my preconceived biases about students' capabilities are not hindering them from thriving? That's really what we talk about. And we give practical, real strategies for how to do that. In our next chapter, we talk about the appetizer, and that's the curriculum. Many times, schools can be handed a curriculum and they're not real sure about, how do I look at this curriculum and how do I make sure, how do I, just like an appetizer, how do I sample it to make sure that what I'm putting in front of students is the best, that it meets their needs, that it recognizes who they are and what they need. Our salad course talks about students from varying backgrounds, but as you know, with a great salad, you need all those ingredients, just like you need all different personalities in your classroom to make the environment rich. Our main course is our next chapter, where we really talk about all the strategies you mentioned about the layered reading. We talk about reciprocal teaching, which I love reciprocal teaching. We could talk about that forever, but just making sure that the bar is high, those expectations stay high. And our last talks about technology or dessert. Everybody loves technology, but too much of it can make you sick. Just like too much of a reliance on technology over a high quality teacher will overshadow the potential that can happen when a dynamic teacher uses phenomenal technology to help students find success. So.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. All of those are good points, but particularly about the technology, I think we do have to remember that what we want technology to do is help us do what we know helps kids learn.
That's right.
I was talking to one person, and he said to me, he said, no, I just like all the bells and whistles. and that's okay, but that's not really what we want. We want it to help kids learn. We are wrapping up. Who can show me the book? Because I want everybody to see what it looks like. It's such a nice cover. So, Serving Educational Equity, a 5-course framework for accelerated learning, works with all grade levels, all subject areas. So it's definitely something you want. We are posting the how you can order the book. We're also going to post Sonya's website so that you can get in touch with them. It's a great book when you're looking at rigor, okay? And what this one's going to do is it's going to give you a bigger overview from a programmatic perspective of what you need to do. So it's just excellent. For me, you see my new book right behind me, Scaffolding for Success. It'll be out in September, and it will absolutely fit right in with it. So we can make that work. And you'll have my website and everything else up here too. So thank you so much for your time, Sonya and Gwen, and hopefully we will do this again soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much.
I'm going to stop.